This is episode 38 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. In this episode, we discuss the last women's episode from last week, as well as JK being a time traveler, his morning routine, diagnosing some issues in training from the coaching and athlete perspectives, as well as give our tips on rowing. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. All right, how you doing today, JK?
I'm very well, Anthony. How are you going?
I'm good. I believe this is episode 38. This is the episode after the women's episode. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know I did particularly.
So did I.
I thought they did a fantastic job. Just to start with today, we are going to do a little review of how the women did in our absence. Any comments we have, tips, pointers, and things we could take away. We'll talk about JK leaving for Las Vegas and how he's a time traveler. Go over his morning routine because JK is an early morning guy, if you don't know.
Sure am.
We have 2 weeks and 1 day from the point of recording this until the third major in Las Vegas. So things are heating up. When this gets released, it'll be about 2 weeks until the third major in Las Vegas. How excited we are for everybody to be here. We'll talk about diagnosing any issues in your training, which will go over what happens if you're getting excessive fatigue, excessive soreness. How do you pinpoint what the issue is when we do so many different modalities and so many different types of training? What do you need to cut back on or cut out or change in order to feel better going through it? Pacing and intention for general physical preparedness. We got a lot of questions, both JK and I, on this from our individual training plans about GPP and how do you pace it? What do you do for it? We're going to give a little review and opinion on an article, a paper we were sent about how to skate your best 10K. So skating, speed skating, how to skate your 10K. The author came up with indicators that within the last 3 months leading up to a big event, what were the biggest factors indicating success in that 10K? And so we're going to ask that question of, well, what are the biggest indicators within the last 3 months leading up to an event that are the biggest factors in a victory for HYROX or success as you define success in HYROX? We're going to give our coaching tip on rowing. All right, JK. So let's just talk a little bit. I think there was a fantastic podcast last week. I've listened to it a couple times that Lauren and Georgie put on. If you haven't listened to that yet, guys, go ahead and absolutely pause this episode, hit the back button, go listen to that one.
Say that.
It's probably going to be better than this one. They were fantastic.
Yeah, and just quickly, like they got this is our 38th episode. Is that correct, Anthony? Or
Yep.
30? Yeah. And they're already in the top 3 of downloads or
So that's what I was
plays.
just pulling up. Looking at the videos, their total views. Yep, they're in 4th place. Oh, no, 3rd.
Wow.
Well, yeah. They're in terms of like listens across all platforms except for YouTube, they are in 4th place. But I think if you add in the YouTube ones, I think that moves them to 3rd. That episode's been out a little over a week. They're about 400 total views and listens behind our best episode Performance, which has been out for 10 weeks. So they're going to catch that within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Next week.
I just loved how they were actually just very natural together as well. Listening to it, and you know, from my end, obviously we're biased, Anthony, but for good reason. Your partner, I obviously talk about Georgie all the time, being my biggest support, and she's very good at her craft. And right now, being in the nutrition world and studying nutrition and stuff. If you do want to get some good tips on nutrition and you haven't listened to that, please go back to it. And yeah, I just loved how they did it, right? It was great.
Yeah, I think they touched on a lot of topics and did a really good job with it. So they started out talking about the proposal saga. The
Yeah.
congratulations, worried about that. I loved hearing that story from both the perspectives because I got your perspective,
Yeah,
obviously, but
exactly.
it was good to hear it from Georgie. And then I liked hearing Georgie's opinion on how she's joining the CrossFit community because I
Hmm.
just remember like going into those classes, getting that class workout and that community feel for your workouts. That actually really, really helps, it helps push you. It
Yeah.
helps do a lot of things. So that was very interesting to hear perspective on that. And then um, they also talked about nutrition, like you said, and embracing pain, Lauren's journey to a golden ticket. Yeah, they talked about nutrition and how like energizing with the right amount of carbs, some mastering their first race, all that
Mm.
kind of stuff. It was a fantastic listen. I think it was one of the best episodes I've listened to, and I hope everybody agrees. So, you got anything else you want to
Just
add to the
one.
women's episode?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one of the topics that I think it was a question that Lauren received about getting to the pain cave and I guess it was like a perspective of what do you think about it, or do you remember the question? It was
Yeah, it
um
was like, what do you think about later in the race and everything? And I think her response was that she likes getting into the pain cave and she can't wait for that feeling there.
and it's like I think she said something like it's like when she gets there it's like well sorry, it's like that's the whole point, right? And she just can't wait to get there because then it's all about doubling down to it or being aggressive with that pancake. But I just found it very fascinating how she articulated talking about it. So yes, if you want to understand a bit more about Lauren Weeks's mindset at the end of a HYROX race, you should go back and listen.
About how she thinks about getting into that zone. Yeah, I think it was a fantastic. I'm actually going to go listen to it again. I meant to listen to it before we got on here, but I agree it was great. So, JK, just a
Yes,
quick question. I'm very excited for everyone to be here in Vegas in a couple weeks, and Georgie's going to come visit you while you're in
correct.
Las
Yes.
Vegas, right? She gets here a day or
Yep.
two before the event. She'll be super jet lagged. But you guys are staying for a little bit afterwards. And I'm wondering, because the women talked about it, who do you think wins in a doubles HYROX? You and Georgie or me and Lauren?
So when that got brought up with Georgie and I, Georgie blatantly like straight away said, "Oh, like Lauren and Anthony would beat us," and I got so offended. I was like, hang on. How are you getting? How are you saying that?" So then we had a chat about it, and we went through our tactics to try to beat you, and we'd we'd have to run. Georgie would have to run very well, but w answering the question, it would be a wall ball fight by the end, in my eyes. But yeah, it might sounds like we might have to set this up, Anthony.
Well, they talked about it. We're going to maybe, if it works out between the events and us going to do that Black Canyons race, we might end up doing a HYROX
Swim.
swimming workout, HYROX with swimming instead of running, whatever it's going to be. So that'll be interesting. But I want to hear the listeners' opinions. Who do
Yeah,
you think
same.
wins? Who do you think wins?
Yep.
JK and Georgie or me and Lauren?
Yep.
And then I want to hear
Yep.
your opinions on the swimming workout. Me and JK or Georgie and Lauren?
Yeah, I think we have and I'm okay to say this, but Georgie and Lauren in a pool versus Anthony and I in a pool. Not that I know your swimming background, but I just know my swimming background, and it's nothing like my partner Georgie. So that'll be interesting if we can get that done.
Well, it'd be very interesting. I am okay. I can be fast for a 50 like meter sprint or 50-yard sprint in the pool.
Same, actually. Yeah.
I ran triathlons for a little bit, so open water swimming I'm okay.
Hmm.
Um, and I gotta say, I'm actually pretty fit. I'm just always next to a world champion fitness person, so I get my ass kicked in a lot of things. Like we we did that workout. You asked me afterwards if I won that workout that Lauren posted all of us doing the other day. And for anybody who doesn't know, it was 5 rounds of 15 sumo deadlift high pulls, 12 front squats, and 9 push press with 95 pounds for men and 65 pounds for women. And I'm pretty quick with a barbell. Like, I think my DT time is about 4.5 minutes. If you don't know what DT is, it's a CrossFit workout that's all barbell. This workout was all barbell. But even in DT, Lauren still beats me by a full round. She
Wow.
she has like a 3.5 minute sub DT. So it's she's just quick. She's fast and
Yeah.
she beat me in that workout. She lapped me by the third round.
Mm. What's just on this, right? Like, what is an elite DT time?
Oh, Lauren's time has to be elite. I don't know if I'm sure there's people out there that can or have gone faster, but if I remember right, her DT time, her like lifetime PR is like a 3:24. Uh,
324
I don't
for,
think
and what
she
is DT
I don't
again?
think she ever took her hands off the barbell. Uh,
Wow.
and DT is
Wow.
12 deadlifts, 9 hang power cleans, and 6 shoulder to overhead at
Hmm.
for men 155 pounds, which I think is 70 kilos, and
70
for
kilos, yeah.
women is 105 pounds, which I think is 50 kilos or just
Yeah,
under
it
50
is. Yeah.
kilos. Yeah,
Yeah. 326,
324.
324. Yeah. I wonder what Tia Claire Toomey's time is.
It's probably pretty quick, but I think Lauren, her range of motion is short too on those workouts. So uh,
Yeah.
it's so fast at it. But I'm not
Yeah.
unfit. So I think if you and I did this swimming workout against the girls, maybe we'll be able to find out. We'd have a pretty good shot. I have done swimming competitions before. So we used to do something called Frogman back when
Yeah.
like I was
I
doing
think you've told
CrossFit
me
and
this.
stuff. So like between 2014 and 2020, I did 3 or 4 years of a competition called Frogman. Frogman was basically CrossFit poolside. And so one of the workouts, it was one of them was a partner one. I had a buddy, Brian Van Gorder. Him and I did the workout. It was Karen, so 150 wall balls for time. But every time you got a no rep or broke, you had to swim 25 yards down and back before you could
Wow.
before like you could go again on the wall balls. But your partner
Yeah.
could go right away, right? So we did that workout. I think I did like 70 or 75 unbroken, and then handed the ball off to Brian, who could have done 150 unbroken. And I just jumped in the pool and lackadaisically swam across because I was like, oh, he's done. He's gonna finish it. He got a no rep at like 120, and I wasn't out of the pool yet.
Oh
And so I
no.
had to
So you have
jump
to
out
wait.
soaking wet, get back on the ball, and start
Yeah.
doing more wall balls.
That's a
But
good workout.
yeah, it was a great workout. And then I was actually on the Frogman team. Lauren and I and another girl from Vegas who was a CrossFit Regional competitor. There was a 3-person team, and most of the teams were 2 men and a woman, uh, 2 men and a woman,
Women.
because that usually, like, that'd be a stronger team. But our team, we went to San Diego for the event, was 2 women and a man, and we were called Two Mermaids and a Manatee. So, uh, we had a great competition. I think we took, overall, we took first place, like crushed it. And there were other regional and like semifinal level CrossFit competitors there at the event on a team too. But we crushed the event. I think in terms of like the workouts, I think we were like second, first, second in all the four workouts we did. Uh, but
Yeah,
both of
nice.
them are swimmers, right? So they were fantastic to have on the team. So
Yeah,
I think the girls have a good shot, but as long as the swimming isn't too long, we might be able to beat them.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
We'll have to see. Um, all right, JK, I just want to talk about this a little bit. You leave for Las Vegas in 3 or 4 days from now,
Yep. Yep.
and you time travel. Basically, you go up in an airplane, let the world spin below you, come back down, and it's an hour earlier than when you took off.
That's exactly. I'm having a look now. I leave 11:40 a.m. Brisbane time on the 21st of January, and I land 10:30 a.m. Las Vegas time on the 21st. How crazy is that?
So you're going to fly all the way across the Pacific Ocean
Hmm.
and lose an hour. And then when you go home, you lose a whole day. But uh, pretty cool
Yeah,
that you get to
yeah,
be here. And yeah, so
yeah.
time
I'm
travel.
excited. Yeah, I've probably done more European trips from Australia than Australia to America. So this is actually going to be a little bit different for me. But I'm there 10 nights before the race, so I think and fingers crossed and touch wood. We've spoken about this. I think that's going to be enough time to acclimatize and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited. What's the just on that, what's the temperature ranging in Vegas at the moment?
Um, right now, it's like 54 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny.
54.
No clouds in the sky, no nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful sunny day, 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, oh, what is that in Celsius? That's like
What is it?
11, 12 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So that's nice. That's actually really nice. So yeah, I'm excited to get into a cooler weather for a change. But yeah, like this time next week, Anthony, I could have we could be doing a podcast in the flesh together.
that's right.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to come over.
What's it like right there? You're coming to colder weather. A lot of people that are traveling here, either from Europe or other parts of America, are actually coming to warmer weather.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is like I'm 30 degrees Celsius on average per day at the moment. Yeah, so it's pretty hot, like but it's not. I don't know, like what's 30 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
I think that's 30. Let's see, 30 times 9/5 is going to be 54 plus 32. So you're looking at like 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it's hot, but it's not. It's not. It's
It's
like
not,
it's not
that's not
overboard,
terrible.
right? So yeah, like it's nice and I live on the coast, so I when I do my running, I run like like an ocean like track, so I'm getting a lot of breeze and stuff. So
Like California
it's
weather.
gorgeous. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so that'll be good. And yeah, you guys don't have to travel at all, which is exciting for you.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I don't know if everybody knows that, but we moved out of Salt Lake and we actually live in Las Vegas now. So no
which is
travel
cool.
for
So
us. Uh,
yeah,
JK, I had a question. You live on the coast. I've lived on the west coast of the US my whole life.
yeah.
The water, whenever we go to the ocean, I've been in Oregon, Washington, California, uh, Cabo San Lucas. Like anytime I go to the ocean is cold, right? The ocean is
Yeah,
cold water. That's what I've always thought. Like it's freezing, especially like the Oregon coast, all times. It's always cold.
yeah,
But I went over to Florida actually for the first time. I went to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and Florida was warm. It was like bath water. I was like, this
right.
isn't the ocean. That doesn't exist. And so my question, because like I've been to the ocean in New York before that, and it's cold there too. Not as bad, but what is the ocean temperatures like in Brisbane?
Uh, and I'm not, I don't know exactly the temperature, but here's the thing. I'm very bad at cold in general. I don't swim in the ocean as much as I should because it's gorgeous here. But I'm a bit of a sook when it comes to cold, and I'd rather just be at the beach and not get wet, to be honest. I don't know, I'll just be honest. Georgie loves the ocean, hence why, just going back to our proposal story, hence why I ended up proposing in the ocean because she loves the water. So, but I think to answer, like, I think if you guys ever came to Australia, you would think our water is warm. And that's what I've heard from like Europeans coming over or British people coming over to Australia. They are just amazed at how warm our water is, even in our winter as well. So I think you'd be amazed at our yeah, at our water. But man, I'm terrible. Like I really hate or I really struggle with ice baths. Um, and I know you can probably change that mindset, but yeah.
So, all right. All right. So went over that stuff. I want to talk about your morning routine. So I texted you this a little bit, but I used to wake up between 4:30 and 5 a.m., go work out at 5 a.m., go to work, do all this stuff. More recently, like I've been staying up later, which means I wake up later. And then now I am this week, as of this week, again waking up before 6, sometime around like 5:30-ish, to get my workouts in the morning. And I just want to hear about your morning routine. How do you wake up? How do you get going and everything? Because if I'm thinking this, I think there's people out there as well that
Mm.
want to wake up earlier. They want to, get in that morning routine. Maybe they're not a morning person, but it just takes time to develop a habit. So they would like to become more of a morning person. Uh,
Yeah.
so why don't you tell us, because you've been doing it for a long time, as long as I've known you, you wake up
Yeah.
early, you get everything done, and you're regimented about your bedtime too.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going to start, Anthony, is a good morning routine. And it's, I've probably taken this from reading or listening to someone, but a good morning routine starts the night before. Um, I wouldn't be able to wake up the way I wake up at 5 a.m. or 5:15. This morning was 5:15 every morning if I wasn't going to bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock. And that's regimented. That is like every night, even to the point where on a Saturday night, and let's just call it like Saturday nights, society tells us that it's a Saturday night. It's you can stay up a little bit later, maybe you can go out with friends, you can etc. etc. But Saturday night, sometimes Georgie and I are in bed like at 7:30 because we've had a big day of training and we've ended up just having dinner earlier and then getting to bed earlier. But it always starts with getting to bed on time. And for me, I wanted to make sure that I'm in bed for between 9 to 10 hours every night. That doesn't mean I'm sleeping 9 or 10 hours, right? But I try to make sure that I'm in bed for 9 to 10 hours a night so that I'm as close to the 8 hour range of sleep as possible. And then from there, um, you can build a habit. Well, not a habit, but waking up early at 5 a.m. or 5:15. I'll be honest, it's not. it's not nice every morning. Like sometimes the alarm, my Whoop alarm vibrates, so I don't have an audio alarm. My Whoop vibrates on me to wake me up. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'd love to get back to sleep, but I normally wake up every time and get going, and it's the way that I've been wired for so long, I guess. I think if you do want to wake up early, I think as I just said, it always starts the night before, even to the point where I always try to set up things that I'm going to be doing straight away when I wake up the night before. So just an example, and Georgie does this very well. Georgie's out for a run right now, and it's not even 6:30 in the morning. Like she gets her coffee ready to to make. She gets her breakfast that she's going to have before her run in the morning. So and even her clothes out to run to make sure that she's prepared to actually get up and get going straight away. I'm a bit of a and I've got the luxury to do this. I like to wake up a little bit slower by waking up. I end up doing a bit of work and have a coffee and go about my day a little bit lighter before about 8, 9 a.m. I end up starting my training for the day. But I'm just trying to think, Anthony, trying to wake up early. The only thing I can really say is it starts the night before. Starts the night before preparing. And yeah, it's going to be tough the first week, the first couple of weeks. But when you um, put yourself in a routine or are determined to keep to a structure, um, it just becomes a routine. It just becomes a structure then. So you're not even thinking about it, right? Um, so yeah, how have you found the last week? Have you adapted pretty well or
So one thing is I didn't realize there were vibration alarms, and I found it on my watch. And so now I have vibration alarms. I don't even wake up, Lauren, when I wake up. It's
nice?
fantastic.
Yeah,
So I can do that, and be able to get up, roll out of bed. Uh, I have been trying just to do like my normal routine and then get into a workout, like get a cup of
yeah,
coffee and get a workout. Listening to you right there, maybe I'll try working first, slowly waking up, and then going for a workout later in the day once I've like woken my body up. Maybe that's a better way to go about it. And everybody should just
yeah,
experiment like with yourself, figure out, if you are trying to wake up. And I don't mean to say you don't have to be a morning person. I
no,
I I definitely believe that like I know some people will say, "Oh, you're don't wake up in the morning, you're wasting the day. You're lazy because you're not getting up early." That's not true at all. Like most of the time, if somebody is there's morning people and there's night owls, right? And
yeah,
sometimes people like waking up in the morning. They like to get up at 4, 5, 6 a.m.
yeah,
There's people that don't want to get up till 8 or 9 or 10 a.m.
mhm,
But those people that wake up later, they're not like any lazier because they stay up until 12, 1, 2 a.m., Well,
yeah,
everybody else is going to bed at 8, 9, 10 a.m. It's like, well, I stay up way later than you. So that's
yeah,
when they can get their work in. Everybody's days can just be shifted based on their own circadian rhythm. I
yeah,
think the hardest part about it is the first couple weeks when you're trying to change.
yeah,
Your
for
sleep
sure.
gets off a bit.
Yeah. And I personally think we we as we as society are so busy. And like if you're listening to this, just think about how busy you are right now. Anthony, you're very busy. I'm very busy. Everyone's busy. Now it comes to a point where the whole concept of not having enough time, that's not a thing because you make time in my eyes. Meaning if you feel as if you've gotten to a point where you don't have time, it's time to change your structure then, right? Meaning, okay, let's have a look at maybe waking up even a half an hour earlier to get an hour more of your day. Um, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's an interesting one because we are so busy and we want to make sure that we're fitting in all our priorities and also just on that, and I don't want to sound too critical or too harsh here, but if something is a priority to you, like truly a priority to you, you'll make it happen. Time won't be a problem. It just won't be a thing then, right? So so if you want to start waking up early and getting a bit more early morning stuff done, whether it is training or work, starts the night before. And if you do really want to prioritize that, you'll make that happen.
I like that. That was good. I agree with it. Starts the night before. So
Yeah.
we're I liked how you went over that. Not only am I changing my morning routine, I think there are a couple people out there asking on our platforms in terms of our programming. We're like, how do you fit this in? What do you do? And I think that's a great way to go about it. Is like, just like you said, it's priorities. What do you
Yep.
prioritize?
Exactly.
What
Yep.
is what gets done, right?
Yep.
So like I said earlier, we're 2 weeks until the third major. 2 weeks and one day as of recording this. When it comes out, it'll be 2 weeks till the third major. So things are heating up. Uh, JK, I gotta ask you, what are you most excited for? Are you most excited for your own Elite 15 race, our doubles race that we're gonna do, or the girls just announced their relay race that they're gonna do?
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I'm excited for. I am excited to see Anthony Pericini in the flesh try to rock zone run with me. That's what I'm excited for, to be honest.
I need help.
Saturday night, Saturday night in Vegas, Anthony and I are doing pro doubles, and yeah, I'm uh, I'm very excited. Are you excited?
I heard on your podcast, the Hybrid Sport Media podcast, just yesterday I was listening to it, that they said you guys said on there, and I don't know, I hadn't heard this anywhere else. He said that Matt Frazier is going to be doing doubles, men's pro doubles there. So we got to make sure we win that
I
one.
I really hope it's pro doubles, right? Surely he's doing pro doubles.
Yeah. I
Surely. So yeah, definitely. See, we'll see. I just on that, I think he's doing it with Matt O'Keefe.
yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
And
Have you met
then
Matt Fraser?
so I did meet Matt Frazier at the very first HYROX we ever went to in Miami. Uh
He was
he
there.
was walking around the venue when Lauren was racing. And while she was
Oh,
on one of her runs, I went and snagged a picture with him. And I asked him,
yeah.
why didn't he do this? And he told me he doesn't get out of bed for less than $10,000. So doing the High Rocks
He
race at the time wasn't a priority.
he said that to you
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And that
So
was sorry, that was 2020. No,
2019. 2019.
2019. There
Yeah.
you go.
6 years ago.
Um he was still competing then, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was in the middle of his, I think at that time he had three championships or something, maybe four.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There you go. So that'll be good. So going back to it, no, I'm excited for all three. Elite 15 on the Friday night, our race on Saturday, and then the women's relay. Um, I'm also excited to spend some time with Georgie afterwards in Vegas, which will be cool. Um, so yeah, it's been an interesting couple of months since Hong Kong, right? Because we had Christmas and New Year's Eve and the festive season and stuff. So everything kind of was a little bit like dull with respect to racing. Obviously, there was no races for a while and not much like going on in the sport. But now it's kind of like, all right, here we go. Like we're starting to ramp up again, and what better way to start the season by doing a an elite major race in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I'm very excited to watch the women's relay. The women's pro
Mm.
relay, I think is just going to be fantastic. I don't know if there's been four women of this caliber put together on
This
a single
caliber.
relay team before. You have the
Agreed.
world champion doubles team in Kate and
Yep.
Zara. You have the world record holding team and Lauren,
Yep.
and they're doing women's relay that is going to be absolutely flying. Uh,
Mm. Have
they
they
had
sorted out who's doing what stations?
they have um, I think Lauren shared it on the last podcast, maybe. Uh,
Did they, yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head. So
Surely there may have like there may have been a bit of back and forth with Kate and Lauren and who wants to do burpees.
maybe
Yeah.
I think it's yeah, I think Kate ends up doing the burpees and the farmer carry. So she's like the lowest the least rest between
Yeah,
stations.
but
Yeah.
she's doing the farmers, right? So, but we all know that. Well, if you don't know that, Lauren and Kate are outstanding on the burpees, but we all know that Kate just loves the burpees, doesn't she?
I think they both love the burpees. It's
Yeah, true.
I don't know if you go back to the do you remember talking after Worlds or like at Amsterdam or something? If you guys go back and listen to our
Oh,
interview after Worlds with the elite people, all the elites that we were coaching there, one of the quotes was, "I wish it was 8 runs and 8 stations of burpee broad jump." I don't
yeah.
think there's too many people that
Imagine
would
that.
think that. Lauren, we actually made a T-shirt that has that on it for the hybrid engine that says, "I wish it was 8 runs and 8 stations of burpee broad jump." I think
Do
she,
you actually have a shirt?
yeah, we do, and I actually
That's
think she
cool.
said that on the Buttery Bros episode, the
Yeah,
World
yeah,
Champs, and then you guys after the Amsterdam race were all talking about it and how
yeah,
you might have to do 8 stations of burpee broad jump and running, and you said you were going to be burpee broad jumping over them
yeah. I
because you're
would
going to
love to
lap
do
them.
that against the girls.
I
I
can't
would
wait.
love.
I can't wait for you to see how fast my burpees are.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I can't wait either.
I only have to do
Um,
like 4 at a time so I can make them fast.
yeah, it's super fast. Will you be doing the 2 feet jump or the step up?
Uh, well, I'm only doing 4 at a time, so I'm going to do 2 foot jump. I can be explosive with it. I
Yeah,
don't
you
need to
can.
conserve anything. Speaking of our doubles
Yes,
race,
you hang on, wait. Yeah, you still got to conserve, mate. We've still got 4 stations, 4 runs after
no,
that.
no, I don't have to because you're going to burpee longer. You're going to give me rest after.
Yeah, I know, but I would love to have a crack at doing for time, 1K run, like 8 rounds, 1K run, 18-meter burpee broad jumps, 8 rounds.
Maybe during the summer, if there's something that comes up and
Yes, that's
we all
why.
can get together, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll get all these people together,
So
and
are you saying that I'm not allowed to do that during the season?
hey, you can do whatever you want, but I know you don't want those
That's
rest
not
days
true.
after.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Uh,
That's true.
so the women's race, I'm super excited for. If you guys want to watch something fun, Sunday night in Vegas, there's no like announced live stream or anything of it. Maybe we can get it on Instagram Live somehow,
Yeah,
but I think it's going to
I think
be
we should. Yeah,
super cool.
yeah,
Uh,
cool.
and then our doubles race. I'm excited for our doubles race. This is interesting. So like you and Georgie have done a doubles together. You and Lauren
Yeah,
have done doubles together.
yeah.
You and I will have done a doubles together, but me and Lauren haven't done a doubles together. And
Oh,
so
you haven't? Yeah. Oh,
no,
you
so
definitely
I
need
was thinking
to.
about don't know when the because we talked about just earlier in this episode who would win, you and Georgie versus me and Lauren, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if the co-ed doubles, and maybe I'm listening to something here, but we should all be in Houston. If the mixed doubles
Yeah,
is after
the
the Elite
pro.
15 doubles, then maybe we could get a mixed doubles in there
Maybe we
and
could
and
definitely
solve
do that.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. So
outside of our swimming workout. Yeah,
if it's on the Sunday, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that'll be an interesting one because just on this topic, guys. So the Houston race is on, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, it's Saturday the 16th and
Saturday, yeah,
lot
March 15, 16 is
correct,
Houston.
yeah. And the reason why I will be there and also Lauren will be there and Anthony will be there is to do with
Well,
it's a
Anthony's
qualifying for
not
the
Anthony's not 100% going to be there yet.
okay. Well, hopefully you are. But it's a pro doubles. Sorry, it's a elite 15 doubles qualifying race. So I will be heading over straight after the Glasgow race on the Wednesday night prior. Right now, I'm racing the Glasgow Major on the Wednesday night, which is crazy, a Wednesday night race, right? I'll be racing that, and then the Thursday I'll be flying out to Houston uh, to to race with drum roll, please, Mister Jake Dearden himself, who is going to fly over with me, and we're going to do the Elite 15 qualifying pro doubles together. So that's exciting. We've been talking about it for quite a while now, and we just thought we'd get it done earlier, or try to get it done earlier than later. So I'm excited to be racing with Jake himself. So yeah, it'll be good. And I'm assuming there's going to be, especially the Americans. There'll be a couple of American teams out there. I know Marcus Wallace, who is part of the hybrid engine. I'm pretty sure he is doing pro doubles that in Houston. So he'll be very hard to beat, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of other fantastic teams.
Yeah. There's going to be some great teams out there in Houston. I'm very excited for you and Jake Dearden to be racing Houston doubles in that Elite 15 doubles race. It's going to be fun. And we could just say like the reason you're doing it is because your only options, you didn't go to Melbourne, right?
Mm,
And so your only options are either to fly to Houston or wait like 5 weeks in Europe and go to Paris, or wait like 7 weeks in Europe and go to London, or fly to Florida at some point a month and a half
yeah,
before Worlds, like 6 weeks before Worlds or something, and do the Miami race. So the only one that
yeah,
really makes sense is you're already in Europe. So you're going to fly Australia to Europe. Australia is just so far away from everything else, right? So you
we
fly
are,
to
man.
Europe, you do the Glasgow race, you fly from Glasgow to Houston with Jake. You guys do that race. Then you fly yourself back to Australia where you can stay until you are coming back to the US for Worlds.
Yeah.
But it should be enough, like you should be able to have enough downtime after that much travel and racing well before World Championships.
This is the best thing about having a coach, guys. And just quickly, right? I had a different idea about this. And then, obviously, Anthony and I had a discussion about my idea. And my idea was simple, it was just bunking myself down in Europe for a while to potentially race in the Paris race. But after like getting Anthony's perspective, and obviously everyone listening to this understands that we've been working together for almost a year. Um, and I love how I love how you can just share your honest perspective, right? Which is obviously what what I want. And it's so true that we ended up getting to a conclusion of it's better to get it done in Houston whilst I'm over in Europe. It's only a smaller flight to get it done. And this was your message, so that I can come home and be be based at home with Georgie for about 2 months and have quality routine, quality training, things that I know um, before flying out to Chicago. So, yeah, I just wanted to state that because to me it was really important because I could have just gone, nah, it sounds good to just be over in Europe for so long.
Yeah, he was just gonna stay in Europe for 5 weeks. That would have really messed you up. Like Europe, back to you've been traveling once a month, a third to halfway around the world.
Yeah, but no,
So
I'm excited,
yeah.
very excited.
So let's get into a little bit. We've been talking for, wow, about 40 minutes now, 30, 40 minutes now. So we're going to get into a few more things. We did talk about your morning routine, so I'm glad we
Yeah.
got that in there. The Let's just get into how to diagnose the issue in your training. So this is a topic that actually came up between JK and I with
Mm.
his training, and I thought it'd be useful to talk about on here to everyone else. So, what happens when you're consistently hitting highs and lows in your training? So, like, you'll have some days that are, you're like, wow, I feel really good. And then some days where you're like, I'm just depleted. I'm not hitting times I want to hit, like, or I'm not hitting paces or anything like that. So, how do you diagnose what's going on? What do you do? And I don't know if you want to give more context to that, JK, about like,
I think the first context is because we are training very broadly and varied in relation to our running component, but also our strength, but also our sport specific, also all the fundamentals of trying to become stronger, fitter, faster, etc. Just because your running could be feeling a little bit tougher than normal doesn't mean it's to do with your running. It could potentially be to do with your strength block that you're on. So what I'm trying to get at here is like we've been talking about this because my threshold pace has slightly felt harder than normal, right? So Anthony and I, for a couple of weeks, have tried to work out why. Let's just put it that way. But it's hard to work out why, and this is why we're talking about it. It's hard to work out why because of the varied of training that we do, right? So Anthony, I guess from your end as my coach, what did we end up understanding, trying to work out why my thresholds for the past probably 2 weeks have just felt slightly harder than normal. And how did you get to that point?
so just for context a little bit, after Hong Kong, one of the couple of the things we were trying to do was more muscle fiber recruitment in the legs. And part of that was early week deadlifts. And as we've talked about on here before, triphasic, like uh, eccentric, isometric, and concentric phases of lifting. And
Yep.
what we began to notice was that after a couple weeks, I began to notice that you on your thresholds on Tuesday,
Yep.
you were talking consistently. This is why also, guys, journaling feedback is super important because it
Mm.
might not be apparent right away, but you can recognize patterns when you go back. And I recognize the pattern in JK's training that he had been consistently saying on Tuesdays, I feel sluggish. These feel hard. My pace, I had to slow down, and it was always like the Tuesday one. But on his Thursday or Friday thresholds, he was feeling good. They were going
Yeah.
great. He was hitting paces. And then
Yep.
on his strength running, he was consistent, consistent, consistent. And we made one change, and then all of a sudden his strength running went up 1 kilometer per hour in terms of pace.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, where did this shoot up from? And what's the difference?
Mm.
Literally the only change we made was the early week deadlifts. We recognized as those are taxing your CNS.
Yeah.
So we ended up mixing the days up a little bit and putting this high taxed CNS work, the deadlifts and some other stuff specifically to the day before your active recovery day.
Yeah.
So instead of after active recovery, they were now before active recovery. Um, and that one change, all of a sudden for 2 straight weeks, you were like, I feel great. I feel great. I feel great. I feel great. Your strength running went up. Like
Mm.
that's where, because I don't specify a pace for you for that. I say go off feel. And your strength running shot up. You were running these hills at, what was it, like 15 and a half kilometers per hour.
15.5. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then for like 2 weeks straight, you were running them at like 17 kilometers per hour, these 5 and 6% grades.
Yes.
Um, just massive increases in that speed. And then uh, we'll talk about this in just a minute. We'll talk about like the pacing intention of the GPP. But then we noticed like he did that and it rebounded back to the beginning of the week, not feeling so great.
Yeah. Correct.
And the reason was because we'd left like, oh, I feel good. Oh, I feel good. Oh, I feel good. And then you felt so good. That's where you overworked it.
Mm.
And it happened again. And so when you're looking at your training, you need to be able to diagnose what's the issue. Like we went through a lot of back and forth too about what could be causing the the excess fatigue feeling in your threshold runs. I mean, there was so much
Right.
back and forth before we got to like, oh, it's the deadlifts. Like looking back now, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's the deadlifts, right? But before that, it was you had we were like, how's your recovery going? Like your HRV wasn't telling us a lot, your resting heart rate wasn't telling us a lot. Um, we were like, well, are you sleeping enough? Are you eating enough? Like, and we'll still get into that. Those should be the first things you look at. But
Yeah.
it's interesting, guys, that like take a look at your program as a whole, not necessarily one day at a time, not 1 week at a time. You can look at it monthly and be like, where's my loading? Right? Is this
Mm.
going to tax me uh, mentally more than it should? Is this going to
Mm.
take more energy than it should? That I can put better in somewhere else. And so we recognize that in the strength training was taxing your running ability.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, the most important thing about that is the feedback, Anthony, and being able to really understand how you're feeling. And if you're listening to this, like, and you don't have a one-to-one coach, that's fine. You should just get a journal and um, really consistently jot down how you're feeling before, during, and after your training sessions, and just continuously do that. And then get to a point where, you know, understand that what my threshold, just an example, what my threshold should feel like versus, what they felt like in the last 2 weeks. And I'll be honest with you, it was really hard for me to get to a point to have to slow down. It was really hard because my ego didn't want to slow down at all. I'll be the first to say, but I know how important it was to listen to that. Um, because, if I didn't, or if I tried to continue the intensity of that pace, it would have beaten me up too much.
Yep. And guys, that's something where biosensors could come in handy is you can monitor your specific heart rate. If you have a heart rate monitor or an armband monitor, you can measure like hey, this threshold is costing me over time, you'll recognize like, oh, this is where my heart rate is when I'm running threshold. This is where my heart rate is when I'm running threshold after a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, wow, why is my heart rate 10 beats higher during this effort? Obviously I'm putting
Yeah.
out more effort. Something is off and
Yeah.
you'd be able to recognize it. Okay, I don't think we're gonna have time to get to that review and opinion on how to skate a 10K today. So we'll talk about that. We'll save that for later. What are the indicators within the last 3 months of a race that are the biggest factors in a victory for HYROX? So we'll we'll save that one. Real fast, JK and I both talked about how people on our programs did ask us for pacing and intention on GPP.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, GPP is general physical preparedness. So I want to make sure we answer that question and make sure that we keep going in our series of tips on stations. And today is going to be going over the rower. And I already talked a lot about Lauren in this episode. So we'll save what else I have for later as well. But just know that I love her and she's the best.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
that's so cute.
so pacing and intention for GPP. GPP, like we talked about, is general physical preparedness. One thing we want to make sure is that you and I have talked before about how GPP is the glue that binds together what we work on in silos, right? We work on running in silos and strength in silos, and GPP is the glue that we cross over with. They're not going to be all out goes, right? These are skill based, volume building, um, movement. Like I wouldn't take any of them if you're doing 5 zone heart rates, any of them above zone three,
Yep.
mostly zone two, zone three. So that's just for reference when you're talking about them. How do you view your GPP and when you,
Yeah. So recently I've received a lot of questions from my athletes as well. And what I've decided to do, Anthony, is every GPP that I want them to go hard now, and the GPP, the purpose of it is intensity. I will say now 4 time, right? 4 time, and I'll be frank with you guys, that's maybe once a week.
Mhm.
Maybe once a week. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, I will say these GPPs, 4 times a week are for quality work, meaning it's actually just to get done for the sake of the volume of what you're doing. Let's just say 5 rounds of 250-meter ski erg, 25-meter walking lunge, and 25 wall balls, right? That's just for quality work. Get it done. Zone two, zone three, no more than that. So I've changed it up to say what my workouts, sorry, I phrase it as a for time workout. When it says for time, you're going hard, maybe once a week with what we want to achieve, and then it's for quality work. And it's all about making sure that you're, um, getting the quality of the actual workout done rather than the intensity.
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't think I'll cover it more than that in terms of the pacing is just do what you're able to do and
Yep.
go for the zone you're able to get it in, but just remember it is not hit, right?
Yep.
Um, great. Even if it says AMRAP, sometimes I'll write AMRAP. It's just
Yeah.
I want you working for that amount of time. Um, and I want you doing these movements. But like you said, it is for quality,
Yep.
movement,
For
pattern
quality.
specific. Yep.
Yep.
All right. We're going to skip the review and opinion of how to skate a 10K. So we're going to go on to our coaching tip, best coaching tips for the rowing station. Before we get there, guys, if you can like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, that stuff really helps, especially with the algorithms on Apple Podcast and Spotify to get us out to more people. And we appreciate you. We would appreciate if you can do that for us. And if you have something you want us to like, comment, or review on, let me know. I do that all the time.
Please do.
So,
Yep.
all right, your best tip for the rower besides run in really fast in the rock zone.
And then, sorry, and then run really fast off the roller.
Yeah.
I, I mean, like, let's just obviously the question is during a race, we're talking about rowing in a HYROX race, right? Um, I am a big believer that it should be treated as more of a um, mental, and I use the word mental relaxer. I'm not saying that you have to, I'm not saying the rower you should go easy, but it's a point of the race where you should really tune in to yourself, ask yourself how you're feeling, because after the rower, you've got 3 stations, 3 runs. You should be ready to go. You should be ready to really double down. That's the first thing that comes into my head about the rowing in a race is really be okay with potentially slowing it down so that you can rest your heart rate slightly, mentally get kind of like um, ready to attack the last end of the race. What that means for me versus what that means for everyone else is different, right? I'm not saying that the rower and the rowing split is not important because it is. But I guess I'll let you answer like how to improve the rowing in a HYROX race, Anthony. And I know because we've been doing a lot of threshold rowing, right? But that's my tip with the mentality of the rower in terms of rowing in the first place for a HYROX race. How would you go about trying to improve your rowing?
So, couple of things on the rowing. First off, there's tons of video, tons of people out there with advice on how to row. Uh, Crew is its own sport. They're going to have great rowing. There's amazing rowers out there. I went to a school in the Pacific Northwest of the US that had Olympic rowers. It had at one point one of the guys on the crew team broke the world record for the 100-kilometer row on a Concept
Wow.
2 rower. Like that's
How fast did he do that?
it was like
Sorry
six
to,
hours or something for 100 was it 100,000 meters, 100-kilometer row, something like that. But it's a Concept
wow.
2 like ultra endurance record, right?
Mm,
Um, so these guys, when they row, they have specific techniques for rowing because it's specific to their rower, and they're only doing one sport. They're not switching modalities. They're not
correct.
switching off the rower to go run. They're not switching off the rower to go push a sled or do these things, right? They're rowing usually more than 1,000 meters at a time, usually at least 2K, and that's their efficiency. And their efficiency tips are great. That being said, you need to be comfortable with your style of rowing. These elite athletes, well, they're not just rowers.
Right.
They try to conserve muscle groups and use things that they're not going to be using on the upcoming stations. They don't
Yeah,
need to have the most efficient row technique because that could be taxing something that they're going to use on the next station or use in the next run.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
so they're not going to look perfectly pristine like a professional Olympic rower.
yeah,
And they don't need to. What they do need is they need to be extremely proficient in the technique that they do use to conserve their energy for 1,000-meter row.
yeah,
And I think that's the biggest thing is like you just need practice and reps basically at the pace you want to row or slightly below, as in a slightly slower than the pace you're going to row in your event. And you need to practice like triathlon brick workouts where you row and run, where you run then row, where you row then ski. Like those are types of things that you're going to have to get comfortable with. Um,
mm.
and
And just
I, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Anthony, how do you determine or how do you understand what your rowing pace should be in a HYROX race?
I mean, it's just it can get faster and slower. It's up like figure out what your threshold pace if you can. Figure out your threshold
So
pace, and
how do you figure out?
it's usually a little bit slow or a little bit faster than your threshold pace because you're not staying there the whole time. You know, it's
Yeah,
4 minutes of work. It's 3.5
yeah,
to 4 minutes of work. Most people in a high rocks, they get a split that says like 4:30, and only about 4 minutes of that is rowing. The rest
it's
is
actually rowing.
running in,
Yeah,
getting in and out of the rower. You know, it takes 5 to 8 seconds to get in and out of the rower each time. So,
yeah,
um, and just a little tip, like when JK and I do doubles, we're only switching one time. You
yeah.
don't want too
That's
many
math.
of those switch in and out. So if you guys
Yeah,
are running doubles or something, don't switch too often.
no,
Um, but yeah, actually, I'm curious if anybody out there has their own tips for rowing and anything, write them down. Let us know. Send them over.
yeah, yeah,
But for the most part, I'm not saying rowing efficiency that we can't get better at it, that we should strive to row the way that the professionals row. Um, I just think there's more in the race that you can get better at besides that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, agreed.
So, anyways, guys, that's all we have time for today. I know, JK, you got to go. So, if you guys want to get in contact with either of us, Uh, JK, you can find him on Instagram at jk.jameskelly, or you can find me on
That's
Instagram
it.
at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini. And be on the lookout for some fun things coming up and in this space. And can't wait to see you guys in Las Vegas. If you get the opportunity, I'd be happy to talk to anybody after the Elite 15 major. There's a lot of stress leading up to that. So anytime after the Elite 15,
Oh,
we're good to
just
talk.
on, hang on, just on that, Anthony. I can't wait to obviously see you in the flesh. We've only met
Twice.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the, we've actually only seen each other in the flesh twice. Maybe next week we can actually set up a, as I said, potentially if timing persists, but we can set up a podcast that we can do it together, face to face, and then yeah, if you yeah, I wouldn't bother saying I wouldn't bother um coming up to Anthony if it's before the Elite 15 races because he's sometimes I think he's more in the zone than I am.
So you and I we've seen the start list now. So there's eight. I have eight athletes. We have the hybrid engine. We have eight athletes racing. Uh, and the next up people, so the people that are 16th are both on the men's and women's side, the hybrid engine athletes. So if anybody drops, a hybrid engine athlete gets in. So we have the potential to have 10, but right now it's at
Oh
eight.
wow.
Yeah.
So both of them. So the
Yeah.
male and the female.
Yeah. Maria and Marcus.
Wow. Oh, that's great, mate. That's exciting. Well, sorry, no, I shouldn't say that because I don't want anyone to
I
drop out, but
No, I don't want anybody to drop out, but I really wish both of them had gotten in.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially because they're both American, right? So Canadian.
Yeah, Maria's Canadian.
That's
She's
sorry,
North
Maria.
American. It's America.
Sorry. Oh, is it now?
North
That's not what
America.
Dave. North America.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's right.
All right.
All right, man. Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
We'll talk soon. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to get in contact with James Kelly to seek out some coaching or for general questions and inquiries, please go to Instagram and find him at jk.jameskelly. Or you can find him and Georgie Vesley on YouTube at James Kelly and Georgie Vesley. If you'd like to contact Anthony or seek out programming or coaching questions from the Hybrid Engine, please go to Instagram at the Hybrid Engine or at a Wild Parasini. Thank you again. Have a great day.